is Brendan Egan. I'm the current Director of Parks and Recreation here in Burlington. And I'd just like to say a few words before we get started and welcome you to our 50th anniversary gala. When you think about 50 years of anything, the first thing you think of is commitment. And the first Park and Recreation Commission and staff were not involved, they were committed. Martina Navratilova once said, the difference between involvement and commitment is like ham and eggs. The chicken is involved, the pig is committed. And not to say our first commissioners and park staff and recreation staff were pigs, they were not. They were committed. And that's why we're here 50 years later to celebrate 50 years of Parks and Recreation in Burlington. From the development of the park properties by the early park commissioners and park maintenance director to the development of community recreation programs and events by the first recreation directors, their commitment was evident. The commitment to Parks and Recreation that began in 1967, we hope is still evident in Parks and Recreation programs today. This has been an exciting year for the Parks and Recreation Department as we added a special event each month in addition to our annual special events in celebration of this 50th anniversary. Tonight is the culmination of those events as we induct the first members of the Burlington Parks and Recreation Department Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame was established to honor individuals and organizations that have shown an outstanding commitment to the Burlington Parks and Recreation Department. There are programs on your table that list the inductees as well as the schedule of events for tonight. We have accomplished a lot together in our first 50 years and have provided great experiences for the residents of Burlington. We are committed to continue to provide positive experiences and first-rate facilities for the residents. Thank you for coming to celebrate 50 years of Parks and Recreation in Burlington, and we hope you enjoy yourselves and take time to catch up with family and friends. So again, thank you for coming, and I'd like to ask current Parks and Recreation Commission Chairman Kevin Sullivan to say a few words.
All right, thank you, Brendan. And I wanted to thank everyone for showing up tonight. What an incredible crowd. I wanted to thank the honorees. You know, you look at where we were 50 years ago, there were no parks, hardly any parks. We didn't have any traditions. Now we have traditions. In the original founders of the Recreation Department, the trustee, the commission, the workers, they developed everything. And we're so lucky to have what we have now, and it's all because of the original people in Burlington who helped the Recreation Department. You know, on the maintenance side, Jimmy Marchese, General Patton of the Recreation Department. You gave him a job, he got it done. Whatever needed to be done, he got it done. Doug Gillingham, the person who could never say no to anyone. If you needed a helping hand, he was the person there for you. On the programming side, Bill Bedrow, he started all these events. I think the Muscular Dystrophy Carnival evolved to celebrate Burlington Pride Day and now celebrate Burlington. It's amazing how it's all evolved. Don Roberts, Mr. Recreation. When I first became a commissioner, I went to Don and Don told me what needed to be done, and he had the vision of where we wanted to go in the future. And I was so appreciative of that. You know, Don, years ago, money was tight, and I remember Don going up to town meeting, and he wanted a new recreation van. And the way he approached it was, he went to town meeting and said, I'd like a van, I'll take a car, and if you don't have the money, I'll take a bike. And he got his van, because he knew how to sweet talk. So, and then the Natalie Gillingham, who we're going to honor tonight, she was the face of the Recreation Department. She was the one that everyone saw when you had to come in person and book your classes and events. She was the one that we all got greeted by. And then the original commissioners. We're lucky now in the commission. we have a guide, and we have, everything's been established, so we're just finding the things where weak on or need improving. The original commissioners had to fight for everything. Do we need people? Do we need a park? We need equipment? And they were the ones, the voice of recreation, that went up to town meeting and got the things that helped develop the recreation department and kept it growing and growing as we went on. So Francis White, Tom Flaherty Jr., James Bird, Warren Ganley, and Dan Looney. They were just, we'd like to thank their families for what they contributed to the community. The other thing that would be also, I think we need to thank, is all the people presently that help the recreation department, the staff. From the park staff, who have the smiling faces that greet all the kids all summer long, all the staff that do all the classes, the staff that are in the office that greet everyone and help anyone with any problems, the maintenance staff. I think we have 260 acres of property that we maintain in the town between the schools and the parks and the town offices. And you know, it's a never-ending task. The grass is always growing. The leaves, if leaves didn't fall, it would be so much easier. But these people are incredible, and you know, we need to appreciate everything they've done and say thank you to them. You know, the other thing we have to thank is the volunteers. The volunteers here in Burlington are amazing. The people that do like Burlington Pride softball, all those people at events that come and help out, it's just incredible that these people give up their time to make Burlington a better place. And you know, those volunteers we need to thank. If you ever see them around town, thank them, because without their help, things don't get done. So, and lastly, I want to thank the programming staff today for organizing this event. Brendan Egan, our director. Kelly Lehman, can you stand up?
How's it going?
Oh, Kelly, jump up and down. All right. And Jesse Hampton, they're incredible. This year has been unbelievable. He just told me you couldn't hear me, so I'm going to start all over. I'd like to thank, we do so many events every year, and this year we did 12 more events, all from scratch. And it was amazing how much effort and time they put into it. And it didn't go unnoticed, and this event is incredible, and I just want to say thank you to them for making this such a great night. So enjoy the night, enjoy dinner, and congratulations to all the honorees. Thank you.
We're going to get to the part of the program that everyone came for tonight. I know the meal was really good, the band is great, but we're here tonight to honor the first inductees into the Burlington Parks and Recreation Department Hall of Fame. As you mentioned earlier, or I mentioned earlier, this is an opportunity for us to recognize those individuals, organizations, volunteers that gave a lot of time and effort and, of course, commitment to making the Burlington Parks and Recreation Department what it is today. They laid that foundation that Kelly, Jesse, Rich, the park maintenance staff, all of the program staff are able to work from. So we're very honored today ourselves to induct members into the first class of the Burlington Parks and Recreation Department Hall of Fame. So you can follow along in your program, and we are going to just ask family member of those inductees who have passed to come up once we call the individual. So the first one we have is Richard Dick Bonnell. Dick served as the town's first recreation director after completing his degree at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. He was able to provide families with program opportunities including summer camps in the parks, trips to beaches and amusement parks, and lessons in art, sewing, dancing, and sports. He took pride in providing free and low-cost trips and activities and lessons to residents of Burlington. I'd like to call his son Tim Bunnell up to accept this award on his behalf. Very good, Tim. If you'd like to say a few words?
Yeah, sure,
Any
sure.
words?
Well, any words.
Any words.
Don't say that, I gotta get in trouble. I just want to thank the rec department very much for honoring my dad. Obviously, he can't be here tonight, he's passed away. I guess I'll share one good story. We didn't really talk much about his time at the rec department because he did so much other stuff in his life. He had so many adventures. But because we lived next to Rohannes Park, he would always tell me the story of Rohannes Park. Maybe some of you haven't heard this, and I'm sure I'll probably botch it, so if any of the old timers want to come up to me afterwards and correct me, that's fine. But Rohannes Park was owned by a woman named Mrs. Rohannes, and she was going to sell the land to a commercial real estate place. And my father, when he was the rec department director, convinced her to sell or give, I'm not sure about how it worked out, the land of Burlington. And he said, if you do that, we will name the park Rohannes Park. And that is the story of Rohannes Park. And if you think about how much all the property of Burlington goes for now, and how big Rohannes Park is, that was quite the deal. So he did a lot of that stuff. He did so much for this town, and he would be really appreciative and honored that you guys were reaching out to him and honoring him tonight. So thank you very much, and congratulations to all the other inductees, and have a great night.
Thank you, Tim. The next inductee is James Bill Bird, and I know everybody says he goes by Bill, or went by Bill. So Bill ran for the Park Commission to help establish more parks and recreational facilities for Burlington residents, young and old. He was involved in securing land to establish park locations around Burlington. His family mentioned one of his most memorable moments was his successful campaign slogan, "Spread the word, vote for Bird." I'd like to ask his daughter, Jody Navola, to come up and accept this award on his behalf. I apologize, his granddaughter.
Speak. Okay. Well, it's really nice to be here and accept this award on behalf of my family from my grandfather. He was never one to be the center of attention. He would hate this. But he would love the fact that his great-grandchildren, my 3 children, get to enjoy all the parks and facilities that he was a part of building. So thank you all.
Thank you, Jody. Our next inductee is Bill Boudreau. Bill started with the department as a youth basketball director, hired by Dick Banal. In 1974, Bill was hired as the assistant recreation director and was responsible for developing and directing a number of new and existing programs for residents of all ages. One of his most memorable moments was being a member of the Burlington Parks or Recreation Department at the time, and being selected as Burlington's Outstanding Citizen in 1981 by the Junior Women's Club of Burlington, and again in 2005 by the Burlington Rotary Club. I'd like to ask Bill Boudreau to come up and accept this award.
I think the only thing I can really say is that I've been really blessed to be able to serve the people of the town of Burlington, and I thank you once and all.
Thank you, Bill. Our next inductee is Thomas Flaherty Jr. Thomas was involved in applying for and receiving federal funds to help offset the cost of constructing fields and playgrounds, and served on the Simons Trust until he passed away. He also worked with Frank White on the installation of lights at Simons Park. His family said one of his most memorable moments was working with Jim Marchese and seeing the department grow. I'd like to ask his son, Thomas III, to come up and accept this award on his behalf. You want me to hold that for you?
I guess I was told I only have 2 minutes, but I kind of been hanging around the town for a long time. 64, 65, I remember when my father was elected back then. There wasn't much in town back then, and he would go around and look and say, geez, we need more property, need more property. And with him and the other commissioners, they acquired property. They went and got federal funds. They built a lot of the parks in town, Rahanis, Veterans, United Car, Hathwoods, all those towns, all those parks that you see in town today, 50 years ago, they were just starting out. Back then also, around 1964 or 5, Don Roberts came to town. And I was probably about 15, but we helped Don Roberts and Marty move to their apartment in Woburn. So I knew him from the get-go. And previous to that, Dick Banal moved from Gardner, and I also helped him move. My father said, come on, we gotta go help these guys get to town. So we went and we moved both those guys to town. Two of the best choices the town ever made, Dick Banal and Don Roberts. My father was very pleased. He loved the town. He enjoyed doing everything. He'd go around town checking on the guys, checking the parks, just like Jim Marchese did every morning. There was some things that he really took pleasure in, getting the light poles at Simons Park. Frank White, who worked for the electric company, of course, got the poles, but between the two of them, they managed to get that all done. Federal funding to help offset the cost of all the parks and playgrounds, he was involved in that. I think they went to New York, talked to some people down there one time and secured that money. So one of the things that, as I look around the room tonight, I see all my old friends. And one of the, Dot Marchese, Jimmy's wife, I remember 40 years ago when they came to town, Jimmy and Dot, my parents, they all got together. It was like a big family, the park department. We all worked there as kids, my kids worked there as kids. So we all had a good time. There's one other thing. Well, I guess that's about 2 minutes worth, right? So, but I just want to say also the recreation department today is unbelievable. If any of you went to the Santa Claus thing the other night, Sunday night, unbelievable job. They do a great job. So I just want to say over the last 50 years, if you've been around town, you know what's going on. If you're new to the town, you should be very pleased with what they have. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Our next inductee is Warren Ganley Sr. Warren got involved with the Park Commission through his involvement with coaching Little League. He was always involved in something to do with Burlington and coached along with many of his brothers. His family said one of his most memorable moments was coaching the Doms Atlantic baseball team. I'd like to ask his son Tom to come up and accept this award on his behalf. Tom may also get the award for the longest distance to come. He came from Florida today.
It was a little bit warmer as well. Well, my dad had 6 children, 5 boys, 1 girl, and one of the boys turned out to be good looking. I don't know which one. But anyways, I'd like to first introduce my family. Could you guys just stand up for a minute? There's Ernie, Lionel, Tom, everyone. Good. I would also like to acknowledge all the other families that are receiving this award, because we're certainly very proud of this. And if I think back when we were young kids all the running around on the weekends and the things just to follow them around. And we didn't know what was going on at the time. I actually didn't know they started the parks, so that's pretty exciting. So on behalf of my family, I thank you very much. It's a proud day for us, but my dad also told me something once in life. He said, if you want to avoid criticism, go over in the corner, sit down, and don't do anything. It's the doers, the movers, and the shakers that get it done. And I consider him one of those. He really cared about Burlington, and it wasn't just the recreation. It's everything in town he cared about. Sports, recreation, was the town progressing, the community, and so on and so forth. So again, thank you, and I'm sure he would appreciate this very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tom. Our next inductee is Doug Gillingham. Doug was not able to make it this evening, but we would still like to recognize him. Doug began working for the department after completing high school and worked for the department for 42 years. He began as a maintenance craftsman, working in the parks and on municipal properties, before becoming the director of park maintenance in 1994. Some of his most memorable moments were the installation of new playground equipment in the parks, installation of the new bathroom facility at Rohannes Park, and rebuilding the tennis courts at Rohannes Park, truck day, and working alongside the PTO and residents to improve town facilities. I'd also like to, our next inductee is Natalie Gillingham. Natalie was Doug's mother, and she's not able to make it as well. Natalie began working part-time for the town as a junior clerk in 1965 before becoming full-time in 1970. She was the department's first clerk and was promoted to principal clerk in 1974. Natalie worked for the department until 1996 when she transferred to part-time as a recording clerk. So I'd like to congratulate both Doug and Natalie for their induction into the Burlington Parks and Recreation Department Hall of Fame. Our next inductee, we had 3 in a row, not able to make it as well, Daniel J. Looney. Daniel was one of the first recreation commissioners and served for 3 years as a commissioner. So I'd like to congratulate him for his induction into the Hall of Fame as well. Our next inductee is Jim Marchese. Jim was encouraged to take the qualifying civil service exam by 2 community members who knew of Jim's work ethic and knowledge of grounds maintenance. Jim worked on creating and maintaining the shared spaces of Burlington, including park and recreational areas, schools, and public access grounds. He truly enjoyed every aspect of his work as Director of Recreation Maintenance and would drive around town each morning to assess his responsibilities and would often remark on how great his crew was to help him meet his everyday challenges. I would like to ask his sons Paul, Stephen, and Jay to come up and accept this award on his behalf.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Here, I'll let you hold that, because if you drop it, you're going to talk to your mother about it. It's funny that these two, for years growing up, always told me to be quiet, sit down, don't talk. But here I am being the one elected to talk. Yeah, thank you. Brendan told me 2 minutes. My father would say, if you take 2 minutes, I'm leaving. So on behalf of my mother and the rest of the Marchese family, we want to thank you for this prestigious award to recognizing our father. My dad loved his job. He loved this town, and I've heard a lot of good things tonight, and even in this thing where he got up in the morning and he drove around the town to look for things, to make things better. And he knows he couldn't have done it without the people that work for him and work with him to make things happen. So we want to thank you, and we do appreciate it. But I was handed a note by my mother on my way up here that she wanted me to read. I would like to tell you that a young Tom Flaherty would recruit his mother to go to the Simons Park during the day to please tell the children to pick up any paper that they threw in the ground, because his summer job was to clean the grounds at Simons Park. Again, thank you very much. If my father was here, he would very much appreciate it. He did mention one thing to us time before he passed. He was going to be forgotten, and he's not. Absolutely not. And I do appreciate all the good words tonight, and we thank you again.
Thank you, Paul, Stephen, and Jay. Our next inductee was the longest-serving recreation director for the town, Dom Roberts. Dom was hired as the second recreation director for the town after serving 2 years as a recreation supervisor in Milford, Connecticut. He was responsible for increasing the number of programs offered and staffing for the recreation programs. Some of his most memorable moments were the community surveys held over the years, where the Burlington Recreation Department consistently received high ratings from the residents. Don served 2 terms as the recreation director. He filled in recently back in 2013 as we transitioned before I came in. So I would like to ask Dom Roberts to come up and accept this award. I sure will.
Those are my tickets.
You don't want to lose those.
No. I just pulled out my tickets. Well, Brendan told me I could have a half hour. But he also said he has a gong, and if I go too long, then I'm going to get gonged.
Yes.
So I'll try to keep it under a half an hour. It just seems impossible that it could be 50 years ago that the Recreation Department was established. And I was here for almost 40 of those years as director. And as Brendan said, I came back for a second stint when they needed an interim director in 2013. I'm still waiting for my second retirement party.
Noted.
Haven't heard anything lately about that. Well, when I was hired as the recreation director in 1971, I struck gold. I was young in the field. I'd owned 2 years of experience in Milford, Connecticut as a recreation supervisor. I got the job as director in Burlington. And I started on a career that I loved, more than anything I can imagine ever doing as a career. But also, I struck gold because I got the job in the town of Burlington. Burlington supports the recreation department better than any other town I know. And they still do. I'm sure Brendan would tell you the same thing. You probably have heard that Burlington's recreation department is one of the best recreation departments in Massachusetts. It's probably one of the best recreation departments in New England, and perhaps beyond. And you know why that is? I'm going to tell you. First of all, it's the staff and volunteers that have worked for the recreation department all of those years. The administrative staff, the office staff, the program staff, the part-time people. We hired hundreds of people over the years, and also the volunteers. That's really what makes a recreation department go. But also, you need the support of the Recreation Commission. We're lucky in Burlington that we have had recreation commissions throughout the years that have supported the Recreation Department tremendously. And as a director, you really need that support from your commission. I certainly got it. And most of all, you need community support. That's really why Burlington's Recreation Department is considered to be so good. The people of Burlington have supported the Recreation Department for all of those 50 years. The town meeting has supported the Recreation Department. We always were treated fairly at town meeting. So it's really the townspeople that make Burlington one of the best recreation departments around. And I think that the Recreation Department is even better today than it was when I retired, which is exactly what I was hoping for. The best decision I ever made as Director of Recreation was hiring Bill Boudreau as Assistant Director of Recreation. That's when the Recreation Department really took off. I was a one-person department pretty much, except for part-time employees, until I hired Bill. Then we could really do things. And it worked so well because Bill and I are opposites. Bill likes organizing things. Bill likes logistics. Bill likes planning things down to the minute detail. I hate those things. I'm the big picture person. I like to do long-range planning, strategic plans, budget planning, development of new programs, technology, whatever it takes, providing the resources to the people that run the programs. So Bill and I made a good team because we complemented each other. And it was a wonderful time to work with Bill for all of those years. I'm almost done, Brendan.
Okay.
Are you getting the gong ready?
Nope, not yet.
Oh, okay. What I like most, what I enjoyed the most about working for the Recreation Department is helping to enhance the quality of life for the people of Burlington. What could be better than that? Thank you again. Thanks to the committee and the Recreation Department for this wonderful award. Thanks.
That was perfect. That was perfect. Thank you, Don. Last but not least, our final inductee into the Burlington Parks and Recreation Department Hall of Fame is Frank White. Frank ran for Park Commissioner because he loved the town of Burlington and believed that he could make a difference. He was involved in program decisions for the department, in hiring staff for programming and maintenance. Frank was also involved in programs such as flag football, men's and women's softball, and weekly movies. I would like to ask his son Chuck to come up and accept this award on his behalf.
First of all, I would like to thank Brendan Egan and everyone associated with the Burlington Recreation Department. My name is Chuck White, and my dad was one of the original people who started this wonderful department. My dad passed away almost 17 years ago, and you can only imagine how much I wish that you could be here to accept this award tonight. I'm very humbled and proud of the award. Both my mom and my dad love Christmas time. It's truly a great Christmas present and an honor that I will never forget. I'm so happy that my wife Mary, my 3 kids, Danny, Courtney, and Michael, and Danny's girlfriend Sarah are here tonight. I'm so glad that they knew my parents and Mary's parents and know that they were a very important part of their lives. I wish that my 4 sisters and their families could be here tonight, but they no longer live in this part of the country. My dad was a huge part of opening many different parks in Burlington, and he was involved with the hiring of recreation directors and maintenance personnel. He pushed hard to create the bandstand in the Joe Visco building up at Simons Park. He worked for Boston Edison, which is now N-Star, and somehow he got the Edison to install lights at Marvin Field. My dad helped to start many programs in town. He started the flag football program, he started both the men's and women's softball programs. He started weekly movies for the kids. One of my earliest memories of my dad's involvement with the recreation department was the kids in my neighborhood would get a sneak preview of the movie in our house. My dad was always involved. He umpired both men's and women's softball. He coached baseball, basketball, but he really was known for coaching Pop Warner football. Many years ago, the Pop Warner program in Burlington had an A and B team, which I'm sure they still do. But they also had 5 or 6 teams, the town teams. They would play each other. My dad coached for 10 years, and they won 10 championships. They won every year. He then coached one of the Travelers teams for 2 years, and they also won the championship. I think he was Bill Belichick before Belichick. Although I thought he would have done a better job in Miami. Many years later, I asked him why his teams were always so good. He explained to me that he treated every kid on the team the same. He said, "Chuck, you got to realize your most talented player is always going to play well for you, but it's amazing to see what your less talented players can do when they have confidence in themselves and are having fun." He really enjoyed those years. Later, after coaching, he was the most proud when his players and parents of players would tell them how much fun they had and how much they enjoyed those years. It really comes down to this. Why did my dad do all of this? I know it's because he loved the town of Burlington, especially the kids in the town. He wanted to do his part in this town to make it a great community to live in. And I know that he accomplished it with this. So once again, I would like to thank the Burlington Recreation Department. I'm extremely honored to be standing here tonight and very proud to let you know about my dad's involvement and accomplishments in the town of Burlington. Thank you to everybody involved. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, be safe and enjoy your families. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck.